गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुस्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः नमामि गौडपादं च शङ्करं श्रीसुरेश्वरं स्वामिनं सच्चिदानन्दमिन्द्रं तं ज्ञानरूपिणे ओम्. So, we told that adhyasa needs an upadana karanam. The Purvapakshi, what Purvapakshi told, that adhyasa needs a upadana karanam. Regarding that, many more ideas are there, but Swamiji touched one point alone, and other points he discussed elsewhere in Prakriya Pratyabhigna and other books. So, adhyasa, avidya, that not knowing. Avidya is of only three forms. One is jnana bhava, not knowing. Second is doubt. Third is misunderstanding. So, ignorance is only of these three types. All the schools of philosophy, Swamiji is going to say that not only laukikaha parikshakava, whether the laukikas, the ordinary people, common people, parikshakaha, even the philosophers, both ordinary people and philosophers, all of them have accepted means it is anubhava of everybody, it is in the experience of everybody that ajnanam is of only three types. That is not knowing something. Second is a doubt about something. Third is that you misunderstand it, an error about something. So not knowing, doubt and misunderstanding. There are only three, these are the only three ajnanas. Three forms of ajnana, let us say. Three forms of ajnana. In fact, this adhyasa or a misunderstanding is a making, that it requires a positive substance which modifies into these things. This was objected to by even Ramanuja followers, even Madhva followers. Many other peoples have objected, this doesn't exist, it is only a simple speculation. So, but our post-Shankarites have held it, and then they have been holding on even now the same point. And in fact, if Madhva's writings, there are many other points of contention and difference of opinion, but this one point is a main point for them. They took this point as an important and refuting. They have been telling that, see, when the rope is mistaken for snake, simply you see the snake, that is enough. Snake is only a wrong misunderstanding. They say the snake is something substantial. It is produced by an ignorance sitting upon the rope. An ignorance sitting upon the rope modifies into the snake. So this explanation really bugged them, and they felt that this is just a speculation, non-existent in anybody's life. Even Ramanuja criticized it. Madhva criticized it. Jayatirtha criticized it in his Nyaya Sudha. In fact, they made it a big issue, very big issue. They criticized all this. So, and the common man also doesn't find it, neither common man nor the philosophers. Therefore, that's why Swamiji told, aham ajnaha, when you say I don't know. In these things, when you say I don't know, it simply means that there is an absence of knowledge. See, I don't know, aham ajnaha. It simply shows there is an absence of knowledge. Now this experience that I don't know, they interpreted it and so much that they explained it that this implies an existence of some material substance called ignorance, which is a cause of all misunderstandings. So, and that material ignorance is a fourth one other than these three. We told simple, not knowing, doubt and misunderstanding. These are the only three. Other than these three, that is the fourth one. Where is it? It is except in their explanation, in their interpretation. Interpretation means you are assuming that it is there and trying to defend the assumption. Now how do they defend the assumption? They say if it were not there, Adhyasa would not have been there. See, you are imagining, if you didn't accept, it is all what you call mutual dependency. You assume and then they say Adhyasa is there. And they say Adhyasa is there because of that avidya. Avidya means their own avidya, their own material avidya, a positive avidya. And that positive avidya is there, then only Adhyasa is there. These are all assume and keep on defending, assume and defending, assume and defending. In fact, this has become a very big contention. Ramanujas, in their sampradaya, there is one Saptavida Anupapattihi. The seven kinds of untenabilities regarding avidya, regarding this post-Shankarites avidya, concept of avidya. There are Saptavida Anupapattihi, seven untenabilities they have accused and they have argued. There are so many books regarding avidya. Only there is a Shatadushani is a book, Shatadushani by Vedanta Deshika. In that thing he mainly touched, of course he touched a few points about Madhva also, but mainly about major portion deals with the topics of Advaita and Salvan. In that also the most important is this avidya. This post-Shankarites concept of avidya is refuted there because it is just a speculation and it doesn't exist and it creates more problems than solving it. And in Madhva Sampradaya, Jayatirtha in his Nyaya Sudha also, in his Nyaya Sudha he touched this, and then it goes on even now. So Swamiji found that it never existed in the Bhashya and it doesn't exist in our Anubhava, and so it is illogical and it is harmful. So here, as I told you yesterday, I don't know that ignorance implies only these three: not knowing, doubt and misunderstanding. It doesn't mean any other. I think you may not need it. You means most of the people who study directly, either you remain a common man, or if you study directly Shankaras, Sachidananda Swamiji's, you don't have this problem. But I had years together, I had a problem. It took a long time for me to decondition, because I was also conditioned to this concept of Mula Vidya or Karana Vidya. So avidya means some kind of a substance. Even now you see, all these Advaitins imagine that avidya means a kind of a substance. Some kind of a substance layer covering up Brahman and sitting there. Seeing this word, Vedantin's word Avarana, your what is his name? A novelist in Kannada novelist is very popular. Avarana, there is a book. His name is Yediyurappa? No. His name is Bhairappa. I think Bhairappa, yeah. So he wrote a book and he wrote a novel which is a very famous novel in Karnataka, and he put a name Avarana to that. Avarana simply means a screen. In common sense it is okay, you can use it. But in Vedantins, they made avidya into an avarana, into a positive substance which is a screen upon Brahman. And this has created lot of confusion. Okay. So Swamiji said that you just go by the Bhashya. Bhashyakara is just true to your Anubhava. He doesn't imagine, he doesn't create all these unnecessary speculated things. So here, regarding Avidya, I tried to talk to certain people. Whatever I could read, I read some of the books, various schools of philosophies. Those who are interested in studying various schools of philosophies among you, both Eastern philosophy, Western philosophy, Buddhism, Jainism, Yeah, whatever number of schools of philosophies are existing, both in India and even European and American countries, you just watch. What is their concept of avidya? What is avidya means? What does avidya mean? So if as many as I studied the schools, all of them admit this alone. Ignorance means simply not knowing, doubt and misunderstanding. Other than these three, that there is a fourth kind of avidya, nobody touched. It is a purely speculation of post-Shankarite Advaitins. Among the Advaitins also, Shankara and Sureshwara did not touch it. After Shankara, Panchapadika, Vivarana, Bhamati and all other people started imagining, they made it avidya into a positive substance. And that avidya is non-adhyasta. It is not superimposition. And that avidya is a material substance. It modifies into adhyasa. They made adhyasa into a product, which even Madhva followers, Ramanuja followers and everybody objected. Adhyasa is a simply misunderstanding. Why are you making a product? Adhyasa, misunderstanding, they are making into a product, a substantial product. And therefore, many people criticized and objected, and these people try to defend. Even now it is going on endlessly. But Shankara never said it. So among the Advaitins, Shankara is an unparalleled person. And nobody refutes that Shankara is not Advaitin. Even among the Advaitins, nobody rejects. Everybody accepts Shankara alone is. But in his Shankara Bhashya, you don't find in Prasthanatrayi Bhashya this Bhava Vidya, Mula Vidya, Karana Vidya, whatever the name they give. It is purely a hypothesis, a speculated concept, and try to assume one and try to defend it logically and try to, okay, they may, one more thing problem is, they may say that, they may say it is a purely speculated, okay, we are assuming it and talking it. We could have understood. But not only they say, they try to logically put together and try to defend it, just an assumed concept. They may say it is only an assumed. If it is assumed, we also would not have minded it seriously. Okay, when assumption is assumption, where you find it is not necessary, we just leave it out. Because we don't need it. But not only they assumed it, they started assuming it as an anubhava. They say it is an assumption, and it is not only assumption, they say it is there in anubhava. It is assumed, but it is in anubhava. Now here is a problem. Once you assume, how can there be anubhava? If it is assumed, where is the need to? If it is anubhava, where is the need to assume? It is already there in anubhava. Point out, that is enough. They assume and they say it is in anubhava. So this kind of a contradiction. So in fact, most of the dispute with Advaitins and non-Advaitins is based upon this alone. There are few more points also, other points, but this is a major contention regarding the avidya. Avidya is a contention for everybody, all non-Advaitins. And then unfortunately or fortunately, we don't know, unfortunately for me, this post-Shankarites concept of avidya alone is passing for Shankaras. And what Shankara told, nobody bothered. What Shankaracharya himself told, nobody bothered. In his Prasthanatrayi, this post-Shankarite concept has been passing for Shankara's concept. And now whenever they criticize Advaitins, they abuse Shankara by using this concept. So this post-Shankarites concept is passing for Shankara's concept, and this became a very big difficult problem. So anyway, it is a big thing, and we are discussing Mula Vidya Nirasa anyway in Bangalore, and probably now the lockdown is getting open gradually. Probably we may have, I think this June, I don't know whether they are going to have talks, but June they have already decided, because July there will be the Chaturmasya begins sometimes in 5th July. I won't be able to go to Bangalore. So probably in September alone. September naturally all lockdown will be over. Then we will continue. We already had held few talks. I think monthly, once I go there for 4 or 5 days, daily 2 talks for 5 days I continue. This particular topic, this controversial, this is a very, very important topic of Mula Vidya. That on that alone Swamiji wrote one book completely. Most of us know I think you see the name is Ulta. This is Mula Vidya Nirasa, this is the book. So I am dealing with that. And this topic alone, mainly this concept of Mula Vidya, concept of so regarding that, we are not going into details into that. Since we are going to discuss, we have been discussing in Bangalore, only this point, I don't know, implies only three things, that not knowing, doubt and misunderstanding. There is no fourth other than this. So here in Sugama, the present book which we are discussing, Swamiji didn't say anything. Simply he told it is only nobody accepts that, and no philosopher and no common man and no philosopher is accepting such a thing. So it is only unnecessary speculation. We just leave it. That's all. Now here in Mula Vidya Nirasa, in another book, Swamiji discusses how I don't know. Gives only three meanings. There is no fourth meaning. Here you say, Mamaham Najanami. I'll just tell you, it is one paragraph. A few lines I discuss here. Yattavaduktam Jagradavastayam Mamaham Najanami. It is a Mula Vidya Nirasa. It is a 23rd section in the 27th page. Mula Vidya Nirasa. I just read out this small portion. Yattavaduktam Mamaham Najanami iti pratyakshavabhaso bhavajnane manamiti. That I don't know myself. I don't know myself, there is an experience that I don't know myself. This experience proves, they say, Purvapakshi says, Purvapakshi means, this Purvapakshi is within Advaita. He is a post-Shankarite, we are taking as a Purvapakshi, though he is Advaitin alone. He is an Advaitin. This Purvapakshi is not somebody non-Advaitin. He is only within Advaita. So he said that I don't know myself. This experience itself proves the existence of a positive material cause, a positive material avidya, which modifies into adhyasa, which itself is anadhyasta, not superimposed, but modifies into adhyasa. So this is the content. For this, the Swamiji replied, Tanna. Vuktanubhavasya anyatha siddhe. I don't know myself. This anubhava, this experience can be interpreted or can be explained more easily. More easily means straight away according to anubhava. Straight away according to anubhava. This when you watch this, it is the straight meaning, which is universally acceptable straight meaning, means only three. Not knowing, misunderstanding and doubt. It doesn't mean any other fourth thing. You talk to the common man, you talk to all schools of philosophy, both in India and abroad, all over the world. In fact, I wanted to do, I didn't get the books. I tried to, that I wanted to see all the schools of philosophy within India and even foreign schools. Western philosophy also. What is their concept of avidya? I think one full-fledged book is required. And this reinforces our Swamiji's work. I think we should have done it. But I don't have the books, and I tried to talk to certain scholars. They didn't help me. They didn't cooperate. Help me means they didn't cooperate. They diverted the topic and didn't help me. Even now I am searching. I am looking for it. I don't know whether I will be able to succeed in it. But I wanted to do, if any of you can do it, it will be an excellent work for the tradition, for Shankaras. It will be a service to Shankara, service to Sachidananda Swamiji, service to Vedanta. Okay? That all schools of philosophy, what is their concept of avidya? You bring together all the ideas put together, you will see all of them are talking only these three. Jnana bhava, sanchayaha, mithya jnanam. There is no avidya other than these three. Three forms. There is no fourth form. Okay. So, uktanubhavasya anyathapi siddhe. People try to, some people, even including the scholars, Vedantins, the sannyasins also, try to divert the topic, or by silence they want to kill, but they don't answer directly. By silence, or if they answer, they just go beating about the bush and talking again the same thing. Same thing means what? You assume and try to defend. You assume and defend and assume and defend. Assuming and try to defend it is not a proof. Because you assume and therefore you use an argument. Argument because it is assumed because it is an argument. both are mutually dependent, doesn't prove anything. Anyway, so he says, Vidyatehi Jnanabhava Mithya Jnana Samshaya Jnana Rupam Ajnanatrayam. See, Brihadaranyaka Bhashya Vakyam, Yadi Jnanabhavo, Yadi Samshaya Jnanam, Yadi Viparita Jnanam Vavuchate Ajnanamiti. When we say Ajnana, by Ajnana, whether we refer absence of knowledge or doubt or misunderstanding, means he is covering all the three which are referred by the word Ajnanam. See, Bhashyakara in Brihadaranyaka, all that will go away by Jnanam, that's all. It doesn't refer to any fourth Ajnanam at all. So, Samshaya Jnanam Rupamatra. Tesham Anyatama Vishaya Kim Nasyat Vukta Anubhavaha. I don't know, the Anubhava that I don't know refers to only these three. Tatahi Vyavahare, he is explaining, Swamiji is explaining, Tatra Tatra Kasminschit Vishaye Shrutipatang Gate Sati Evam Matir Jayate. Okay. When you say, I don't know, generally an Anubhava takes place like this. Nahamidam jane, nahamado jane, kintu etavadeva maya drishtam jnatam chaiti. I don't know that, I don't know this, but I know only this much. When you say I don't know, when you say simply I don't know, that sentence, that anubhava implies that I know only this much and I don't know anything more than this, other than this. So in any absence of knowledge, there cannot be pure and absolute absence of knowledge. There cannot be pure and absolute absence of knowledge. This is the contention. The post-Shankarites say it is a bigger contention. I don't know some of them. For some of them it may look too boring and too technical. But anyway, you put up with me for a half an hour for today. So tomorrow onwards it becomes so simple. This is for the senior students, those who have been listening to us in Bangalore. They can understand all these things clearly. It is familiar to them. But for other people it is a bit difficult. So you understand as much as you, otherwise take the essence of it and leave the detailed arguments, and it may come later sometime. So there is no absolute not knowing. What the post-Shankarites say is, there is an absolute not knowing, absolute ignorance, absolute not knowing. Absolute not knowing is impossible. This is the main contention of Shankara and post-Shankarites, or Swamiji and post-Shankarites. They say there is an absolute not knowing. Absolute not knowing is impossible. Such a thing doesn't exist in anybody's anubhava. It is purely speculation of them. Okay. Absolute non-existence, absolute jnana bhava doesn't exist. We say any absence of knowledge, any not knowing implies that you know something and you don't know the remaining. See here, Tatra Tatra Kasminschit Vishaye Shrutipatang Gate Sati, when some idea, some word, something brought to your attention, you say, oh, I don't know this. But I know, but I don't know this, I don't know this, what I know is only this much. So here, Soyam Jnana Bhavaha, Kvachit Vishaya Vishayakaha, Tadanya Vishayaka Jnatatva Buddhi Nibandanaha. Absence of knowledge is about something. See, this is a very important, I underlined before. A not knowing, absence of knowledge always implies, it always pertains to a given thing. I don't know this thing. When you don't have a given thing, if you are not referring to a given thing, absence of knowledge doesn't exist at all. Absence of knowledge always pertains to a given thing. Kvachid Vishaya Vishayakaha. See, this is a Sanskrit expression. Absence of knowledge or not knowing always pertains to a given thing. And Tadanya Vishayaka Jnatattva Buddhi Nibandanaha. Always it means that I know something else but not this. I know something else but not this. Therefore, an absence of knowledge always presupposes some knowledge. Without some knowledge, you can't have absence of knowledge. Okay. It presupposes some understanding. I know something but not the other. This is how we refer. This is a common man's experience. I see this is a great new discovery. New discovery of Swamiji. Swamiji clarified this point, though it is briefly stated And in Shankara Bhashya, Swamiji brought out and then discovered it. And see, it is very important. People have to think. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened to India. Anyway, we are in Gulami period and we are still continuing in that our slavish period. So Indians have lost that Viveka. Indians have lost that openness to think. All our openness is only in foolish area. Indians have openness where all religions are same. But where we have to think really, there we lost real wisdom, real capacity to think. Very unfortunate about India. Foolishly, where we have to watch, where we have to closely, deeply observe, there without observing we say everything is one. We use our openness in foolishly in wrong area, but where we need to study regarding avidya, here we are not open. When Swamiji brought out the idea, the understanding of what is avidya, here we are closed. We means most of the fellows are closed-minded people. Not only closed, there is a terrible resistance. There is a using a power to control it, suppress it. We are behaving like our communists and our what you call secularists. How the secularists are suppressing true Indian history. We are suppressing how the true Indian history is suppressed. Here Sachidananda Swamiji's books are also really suppressed by the same shallow, shabby, superficial, foolish thinkers among us. Oh, it's a very sad. I think it may take a long time to come out of it. A time will come later. These fellows who are opposed will be laughed at. Hindus in a next generation or two generation will be ashamed of these present generation people who are unnecessarily opposing it because of their closeness, prejudice. See, anywhere prejudice may look very advantageous to your ego satisfaction. For your ego assertion, your prejudice looks very advantageous. But I tell you, after some time, after one generation, two generation passes, people look back, we will feel very much ashamed. Your next generation, children, grandchildren will be ashamed. Our own gurus, how great they were, sannyasis, international sannyasis, great people, how so prejudiced, so close-minded, that they defended indefensible thing, stubbornly held on to it. When a person simply, humbly pointed out, they refuted, they refused to talk about him, they abused him. This is the thing, fate. When a time comes, people don't know what to do with that. I tell you, wherever you are prejudiced, a time comes later you will be laughed at. So therefore it is better to be open-minded and accept the fact right now. Accept the fact right now. If you don't accept, one day you will have suffering. You will have to feel ashamed about it. Okay. Now you see, Jnana Bhava. I don't know whether you have gone into this much of technical details. Anyway, for certain senior students, those who have been listening to Mula Vidya, they can understand. For such people, I am touching this. So, Jnana. Other people, as I told you, just to take the bare summary of it and leave it. Jnana Bhavaha, the absence of knowledge, always 2 points Swamiji touched here. An absence of knowledge, Jnana Bhava, Viveka Bhava, always pertains to given thing. There is no generalized Jnana Bhava. Absolute Jnana Bhava doesn't exist. One thing. Second point is, Jnana Bhava always assumes some knowledge. They say there is no some knowledge. There is total absolute jnana, ajnanam. And that is positive substance. Both are wrong. Both are against experience. This has been continuing for centuries among the Advaitins. Okay, tata kadachidevam manishasan. Another thing is, Iga mithya misunderstanding is avidya. See, when you think, when you misunderstand something, what do you say? Somebody said, oh, he is thinking something like that. The other person says, oh, he doesn't know. He misunderstood it. He doesn't know. When he misunderstands, we say it is ajnanam. And second thing, when there is a doubt, you say, oh, still he doesn't know. When you have a doubt, you don't know. When you misunderstand, you don't know. Or when you don't know, you don't know. So, I don't know means only 3. There is no fourth one. I think this is enough. I will not talk more about it. If I go more into it, it becomes more complicated. and it only advanced students can understand. For others it is too heavy. So we'll stop and come back to our Sugama. Okay. I don't know only means simple absence of knowledge. And absence of knowledge always implies that you know something. I know this much and not the other. That's all. When I ask you, do you know Russian language? Oh, you say, I don't know. But did you have this thought before I asked you this question? I don't know the Russian language. Did you have this thought? When I touched the Russian language, oh, you understand. Oh, Russian means Russia is a country we know. No means we know something. That there is a country only this much. When we say Russian language, oh, it is a language, this much we know. To say that I don't know Russian language, you should know this much, that there is a language called Russian. What is a language? You know it because you know the Kannada, Telugu, Hindi, English are a language. We know what is a language, but Russian language I don't know. To say that Russian language I don't know, you should know what is a language first. If suppose a person doesn't know what is a language, I tell him, do you know Russian language? He says, what is language? What do you mean by language? He asks us. What do you mean by language? The other person says, hey, tell me first whether you know it or not. He says, what is language? Let me know whether I know it or not, I'll tell you. What is language? If a person doesn't know what is language, how will he answer? I don't know whether I know it or not. Oh, language is a language that you speak, like your Kannada, Telugu, Hindi, English. Oh, that way. Oh, then Russian language I don't know. That means he has to be familiar that there is a language. And then he can say, I don't know Russian language. See, you have to be familiar something about it. Something you should know, that there is something. Do you know Eskimo? Have you seen Eskimo? Eskimo? What is that? Oh, Eskimo, there is a kind of people, a kind of a jati, a kind of a samudaya, a kind of a group of people. Oh, you mean that? No, I don't know. I have not seen. Otherwise, that fellow doesn't know what is Eskimo. You ask him, do you know Eskimo? Eskimo? Is it a cell phone? Or is it a book? Or is it a tarkar? Is it a vegetable? What is Eskimo? Oh, it's not vegetable. Then you don't know. What is Eskimo? Eskimo is a kind of a group of people. Oh, I have not seen. So you have to know something to say that I don't know. Otherwise, how do you know? If you don't know anything, you can't have ignorance at all. Jnana bhava. Anyway, this is a too technical point, and this they missed it, and they created a problem. I think most of the problems arise. Shall I tell you? One fellow commits a mistake, and that fellow, people out of their respect for a person, emotional attachment for one person, whether it is Shankaracharya or Vivekananda or Gandhiji or anybody for that matter, because of the personal interest, personal respect to the person, of course, is good, and they are great people and we all respect, so everybody is supposed to respect and everybody has respect naturally. But certain ideas, once you respect a person, whatever he says, we blindly accept it. This is really creating a problem. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa told all religions are same, and therefore he did practice. Once you accept, he is a great man. He is a great man. But even great men say certain wrong things, certain imaginary things. Wrong in the sense, certain imagination. They imagine many things, certain fanciful things. Oh, see, he is a great man. He is a great man, but great man also can do imagination. Is it a prohibition that a great man should not imagine? Great man also imagines. Great man also eats food. He also eats food. He also eats roti chapati. He will also eat idli dosa like us. He will also drink coffee and then what you call milk and buttermilk and like that. So great man doesn't mean that he doesn't drink buttermilk. What does it mean? Great man doesn't mean he doesn't eat food and doesn't drink water. So therefore he imagined certain things. So this out of our respect for person, we make it as a very real fact, and unnecessarily wrongly imagined fanciful thing also we make it a fact. And because of that, centuries, whole India suffers for centuries for a simple innocent imagination, innocent mistake of a person, because out of respect for them. I tell you, the respect also is a highly damaging to the people. A blind respect, unthoughtless respect, also is highly creating a damaging to the whole world. Abba, I don't know how to help the people. How people, it looks that, if you look at the society, all sincere people, good people also start believing it. It is very harmful idea, harmful concept. And still people, not only this, even Islam, Christianity also harmful concept only, harmful ideas. But all educated people, thousands, lakhs and crores of people all over the world believe. And in the name of it, they murder and rape and kill them, destroy them. They destroy themselves. They torture the whole world in the name of this blind belief about these few concepts, wrong concepts. Why don't we think? We are capable of thinking. It is not a big thing. It is easy to understand. That what Prophet Muhammad told, what Bible told, certain things are so illogical and meaningless, which common sense we can understand. But we want to suppress the common sense and believe certain wrong ideas. I tell you, it is a very, very harmful to people. All this because of insecurity. I feel the blind belief comes because of insecurity. Insecurity in your mind, where you need to believe beyond your thinking, unnecessary, against your thinking, against your clear thinking, you have to believe it. And this respect for some person, respectable people also, respecting itself is good, but not thinking is really wrong. I think I told this before, and I tell this once again. Ramakrishna Paramahamsas practicing other religions, while practicing that Islamic Allah, he did not go to Temple Kali. They say that he did not go to Temple Kali. Those 3 days when he practiced Allah, sadhanas of Allah for 3 days, dressed up like a Muslim, and he lived in his room alone, and he never stepped in Kali's temple for 3 days. They say, then later at the end he completed his sadhana, then alone he could come to Kali temple for his namaskara and tirtha. Otherwise every day without having darshana, without doing puja of Kali, without taking her tirtha prasada and doing namaskara and singing her bhajan, no single day he would live like that. But only during the Islamic sadhana, it seems, the story says, the book says that he did not step in Kali because he wanted to step out. He wanted to. Now, from this, what should be the conclusion? The conclusion his followers make, publish in the books that, oh, all religions are same. I say you are making a totally opposite conclusion. If all religions are same, then if all gods are, he proved that all gods are same. If he proved all gods are same, while practicing Allah sadhana, then he should have understood Allah and Kali same. Why did he have to avoid Kali? That means in his understanding, Kali was different from Allah. Because Allah won't tolerate Kali. Allah is the most intolerant fellow. Allah won't tolerate Kali. Therefore he didn't say. But these say he proved that all gods are same. If all gods are same, then while practicing Allah, he should have remained with Kali. And he told in front of the Kali, Allah, and he should have told. Kali is Allah, he should have told. But he didn't say that. If that is the practice, then how can you say all gods are same? He has proven that all gods are same. I think we can make any conclusion from any nonsense. We Hindus, why Hindus, all humanity anywhere in the world, we are able to make conclusions, any conclusion from any nonsense. Okay. Any conclusion we make from any nonsense. If while practicing Allah sadhana, if Kali is to be avoided, that means Kali cannot be included in Allah. Allah cannot be included in Kali. Then how do you say all gods are same? The followers have got a very strange mind. Very, very strange mind. Which is destroying the whole humanity. Whole humanity it is destroying. Destroying by conditioning the mind, I tell you. Why don't you think openly? I think it takes a common sense. I think most of the sense, common sense is better than some of the philosophers. Some of the sannyasis, great sannyasis, common sense is better. That shows that he is exclusive. Allah is exclusive. He can't accommodate Kali. Then how do you say that all the gods are same? He discovered that all the gods are same. He didn't discover. He proved that both are different. If he had to prove, then while doing Allah sadhana, he should have sat in front of Kali and this is the same Kali. Okay. While doing Vishnu sadhana, while doing Krishna sadhana, did he avoid Kali? Tell me. He did Krishna sadhana. He did Rama sadhana. While doing Krishna sadhana, Rama sadhana, Shiva sadhana, did he avoid Kali? Why? Because he understood Krishna is Kali, Kali is Rama, Kali is Krishna. Then similarly he should have understood Allah is Kali, Kali is Allah. Therefore even while doing Allah sadhana he should have remained. While doing Jesus sadhana he should have remained with Kali. No, while doing Jesus sadhana he avoided. He never stepped, he never took even Kali prasada. He didn't even look at. That only proves Allah is intolerable, Allah is not Kali. Okay. Then Jesus is not Kali. Allah, Jesus are barbarians that they cannot come to near Kali. They have proven themselves that they are Rakshasas, they cannot come near Kali. Kali will kill them. Okay, Kali will kill them. Therefore, now they say that he has proven that all religions are same. Ayyo Rama. Therefore, a similar thinking is found in Vedantins, in Hindus all over India. Why do you sacrifice common sense to create foolish ideas? The biggest problem is we sacrifice common sense to become philosophers. I tell you one thing, education doesn't mean going against common sense. Okay? Going against common sense logic, they are calling education. I tell you, it is the biggest damage, insult to the human mind. No philosophy, no thinking can go against common sense. In fact, common sense is the greatest gift of God. Common sense is the greatest wisdom of God, I tell you. It is a divine wisdom. Common sense is the divine wisdom. You become a real saint, you first follow your common sense. Then the next step comes, the advanced step is given by the very common sense will take you to the advanced step. You will become a better philosopher if you don't go against common sense. Okay? That's why somebody told common sense is not common at all. Common sense is most rare. Most people do not seem to have common sense. Most people, more they learn, more they become religious people. More they study philosophy, more they study the books, they are losing common sense, talking against common sense. Common man feels that are these people mad or what? They are going against common sense and declaring that they are philosophers, they are gurus, they are swamis, they are leaders. I say, why do you have to lose common sense by being educated? More you read books, more you are losing common sense, going against common sense. Abba, shall I tell you greatness of Shankaracharya? Shankaracharya was a philosopher. Adi Shankaracharya was a great man, Brahmajnani, Avatara and Bhakta, everything. And out of all these things, the most important quality, he is much more great he is greater than in all these things. He accepted common sense absolutely. Shankara's greatness, he is the greatest philosopher in the entire world. He is the greatest philosopher in the entire world only because he is used his common sense absolutely. He used his common sense absolutely, that makes him really a great man. I tell you. He perfectly followed common sense. Those who lose common sense by being more educated, more you lose your common sense. And that is a real problem of whole humanity, whole Hinduism, whole humanity is suffering for want of this. This Islamic barbarism, Christianity barbarism, and Hindus blindly believing barbarism as a religion. All this is because of losing the common sense. Unable to use the common sense, not unable to use, deliberately suppressing the common sense. I tell you, those who suppress the common sense are suppressing the divine blessing, a divine revelation. We are all prophets, I tell you. Every human being is a prophet. Every human being is a pravadi. Every human being is a rishi. In one sense, God has given us the common sense. Up to that, wherever your common sense works, use it wholeheartedly, sincerely, fully To that extent, you are all Rishi, we are all Rishis. If you go against common sense, you fall from your Rishihood. You deny the very God's blessing, you denied God's knowledge. You deny God's knowledge if you refuse your common sense. I tell you, all philosophy, all science, all civilization, all knowledge proceeds assuming common sense. That is a basic foundation. Common sense is a foundation. By denying the foundation, you can't build a building. No building stands by denying the common sense. Okay? By denying, by rejecting, by going against common sense, you can't build a building. All building becomes false buildings if you deny the very foundation, which is a gift of God, a blessing of God. Every human being has got a common sense. Okay? Your education, your culture, your philosophy, your sadhana should proceed from common sense, should not go against common sense. Okay? Should not go against common sense logic. It should build up based upon common sense logic. It should go ahead, a step ahead. You can improve over it, but don't go against common sense. Abba! Shankaracharya's greatest wisdom was his common sense. I tell you, if you accept your common sense, you appreciate Shankara Bhashya better. He talked of most of the common sense. More than 50% of his teaching is based upon common sense. After reading Shankara Bhashya, you become a person of common sense, I tell you. Otherwise, by learning, by your education system, your books, all false books. Most of the education is a false. It denies, it goes against the common sense. And they think that proud that we are educated, we have built up. I say, any education becomes great. Any understanding, any philosophy, any science becomes great. Only it takes the common sense and goes next step. Without denying, without going against common sense. If you have gone against common sense, basic foundation is gone. Then everything goes wrong. All Islamic religion, Christian religion, they are all becoming so violent, cruel, inhuman. People say, oh, civilization is... People make bigger statement, religion is bad and all those things. They are misunderstood one simple thing. All these so-called religions have rejected the basic common sense logic. Instead of understanding this, they make big statement, we should ban religion. Religion is a problem of inhuman. Religion is cause of the problems. You see how many millions are people killed, how the India partitioned based upon religion. All that is because of all religions, all pravadis, all rishis go wrong if you go against common sense. The biggest culprit is in the name of religion, in the name of science, in the name of philosophy. We are going against the common sense logic. Keep to the common sense logic. Build up anything, any science, any philosophy, any religion, it will become a great. If you build up religion without rejecting the common sense, you will have a beautiful religion, sane religion, great religion. You build up science and philosophy without rejecting the common sense, there will be a great science, there will be a great philosophy. You will be a great Swami. If you don't reject your common sense, don't lose your common sense. Shankara's greatness. You will be a follower of Shankara. You will become another Shankara. First, don't reject your common sense. Okay? And we think that more educated, more go against common sense. My God. And you build up all philosophy, all logic, volumes and volumes of this thing. Inhuman you become. And say our religion is great. Hey? People are surprised, losing all common sense. That fellow murders, rapes and ill-treats and say my religion is great. The basic thing is missing. Common sense is not there. Can you become great? You may be great philosopher. All that is a nonsense, I tell you. That is a more devilish if you deny the reject the common sense. Your religion becomes a most vulgar, devilish religion, Rakshasa religion. You retain all your common sense logic completely. Then go to next step. Whatever advanced step you have, retaining the common sense. Don't go against common sense logic. Build up anything. You will be building up a great philosophy. You will have a great religion. You will have a great science without rejecting the common sense. That is your great asset, I tell you. You become a first human being, you become a saintly man, you become a great man, because you don't reject the Ishvara's anugraha, God's blessing, which He has given to us common sense. Most of the problems of humanity is because of we lose it, we don't use it, we go against common sense, which is a God's gift. In fact, it is a God's voice. If you want God's voice, it is your common sense. Common sense logic is God's voice sitting in everybody, everybody's heart. Okay? Paraloka, Punarjanma, Ishvara, other worlds, everything is understandable without going against common sense logic. Okay? Because I found all these quarrels, different religion, blind beliefs, Indians, Hindus, foolishness of accepting all religions are same. In all these things, common sense is missing. When you say that he practiced Allah sadhana, if he did Allah sadhana, then why did he give up Kali? That means Allah is not Kali. Allah, at least Allah cannot accommodate Kali. Allah hates Kali. Then all religions are same, is utter foolishness. Why don't you have common sense here? And their disciples, his disciples told that no, he proved both are same. Hey, what is this? You bring the totally opposite things and say that he proved both are same. Where? Where did he prove? So, if you lose the common sense, the greatest man looks a very shallow fellow. We start defending any inhuman things, all illogical things, all foolish things, all barbaric things we start defending. If you reject the common sense, which is real God? I tell you, the real God is in your common sense logic, common sense thinking. Shankara builds upon that. Upanishads build on that. Bhagavad Gita builds on that. Bhagavad Gita is the greatest book. Upanishads are greatest Shastra on the earth because they are based upon common sense. They have not rejected a single common sense logic. You see them. The beauty of Upanishads, the beauty of Gita, the beauty of Shankaracharya is he never rejected common sense logic. He went a little one more step ahead, but without compromising common sense logic. All the beauty, all the greatness of Shankara and Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita is this. Therefore, you can see Shankara is so acceptable to all. It looks so sane, so balanced, Shankara's Siddhanta. Why sane? Why balanced? Why can't everybody have? Let Christianity also become balanced and acceptable. Let Islam also become. Let anybody become balanced and acceptable. They will also become balanced and acceptable. Why one-sided they become? Why do they become fanatic? They say we don't know all this. Simple reason I tell you. We don't need great wisdom. We don't need big books. We don't need lot of things. They say we want parliament of religion. I say we don't need parliament of religion. There is one religion is enough. One parliament is enough. I feel if there is a common sense parliament I want. If I want to start a common sense parliament. A parliament of common sense. They leave out common sense and build a big parliament of religion. They say start defending my religion is great, your religion is great. Another fellow says all foolish religions are equally true. This is another foolishness. See, all barbarians are also equally true. This is another. In all these things, one thing is missing. Common sense logic is missing. Okay. Let us have this first. You build up anything. Upanishads are, you see you show any Upanishad, anything where they go against common sense. Upanishad or Bhagavad Gita or Shankara, you show me one word, one sentence which goes against common sense, which rejects common sense logic and builds up something and says that this alone is right. Wherever it says it, we totally reject it. It can't be right. And the Upanishad becomes great only because of this. That's why Shankara is standing great among all philosophers, among all religions, Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. And people build up. I say this is the greatness of Hinduism. Our Shastras, our Rishis, our Shankaracharya and other Rishi. Shankaracharya is also Rishi, Acharyas. Their great asset, their great strength is they have respected God. Where is that God? In the form of common sense in you and I. In the form of common sense, God is sitting in the heart of everybody. First you respect this God, then the God reveals more. God reveals more when you respect the first step of God. First darshana of God is common sense logic. And I tell you, you will become a great man. Because once you are not against common sense, anything you talk of, any philosophy, any discovery, any sadhana, will come out as a very sane, very beautiful, very balanced, very logical. Nobody can reject it. It is acceptable to everybody. Acceptable to everybody. When you start going against your common sense, then the quarrel starts. All problems start with this alone. Okay. Therefore, I wanted to tell you why we go wrong. People write books because Sachidananda Swamiji, that this is a Mula Vidya, is a totally against common sense. Swamiji brought common sense and tried to explain, and he wrote a book, full-fledged book in Sanskrit. Even after reading it, again they defend the same thing. Then I understood where they are going wrong. Even writing book did not help. Then I understood we don't need the book. We don't need Mula Vidya Nirasa. We don't need, even if you write 100 books, people will talk of the same thing. The only book that we need is read first common sense. Therefore, somebody told very beautiful, common sense doesn't seem to be common. Common sense doesn't seem to be common. Shankara's greatness is, he brings the commonest sense of all. And all his truth is based upon that. And you think that if you study Shankara Bhashya, you feel that how beautifully Shankara is talking. How so nice, how correct he is. You know, where is his strength lies? He is all correct only because of his common sense. People think how Shankara is so correct because of his avatar. People say Shankara is avatara, therefore he is correct. That is true, he is avatara. You are also avatara. I am also avatara. Common sense is real avatara in all of us. Common sense is real avatara in all of us. That is God's direct voice. God is speaking in the heart of everybody as a common sense. I tell you, revere that. Respect it. Do namaskara. Then build up anything. You will become a sane person, balanced thinker. Everything you will understand. Truth will become much easier for you. Brahma Jnanam becomes easier for you. Atma Tattva becomes easier for you. Okay. Today I thought 2 minutes it become half an hour, okay. But I feel this is important. Anyway, it is up to you. Whatever I told, it is up to you whether you accept or reject it. I leave it to you. So here, Laukikaha Parikshakava. Jnana Abhava, absence of knowledge, simply means by knowing something alone, you can say something you don't know. So you have to know a given thing. Regarding given thing alone, there can be Ajnana. And Ajnana always assumes some knowledge. Without knowledge, you can't have. This is a so simple, straight common sense. And therefore, Ajnana means only 3. They have unnecessarily speculated. Okay. The next thing is, it is Bhashakshara Bahirbhutam. It is outside the words of Bhashya. This point we have to discuss. I thought we would discuss today. Anyway, it didn't happen. We will discuss tomorrow. Okay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat.